Hey everyone, welcome back to another bullet train devlog. This week I got to quite a few new additions, so let's jump right in. The first thing you will see when I enter a new level is that there are now more different obstacle types. We have these rising obstacles. There in the distance you also see a moving obstacle, and there's also one of the bigger blocking obstacles, a rolling boulder. I created these to have more variety after the first boss, so that I can change up a bit more how the game feels. Next, I added the functionality for nature and ice damage. Nature damage now will apply a lifesteal effect. So if you apply nature damage to anything, you will gain the same amount of damage back as health. With ice damage, it has a bit of different functionality. Ice damage will prime towers to be more brittle, so they will take more damage after ice damage was applied. This falls off with time. Currently it isn't visible yet on the towers, but that is something I will be working on soon. With this, now all my 3 different types of elemental damage actually also have a nice function behind them. Another change now that the nature damage is a thing for my game is also that the train does not heal passively anymore. This will now happen at the end of the level, but even that I'm still not sure if I want to keep. But the only way how you get health now during a level is with nature damage as lifesteal. One thing I also fixed is that scrap now again shows up on rails, so there's again my incentive to actually move train tracks. Of course, scrap is currently also somewhat of a placeholder for me, as it is not that interesting, but I want to have different kinds of rewards placed on the rails at a later date. I also did some smaller fixes that I felt were still needed, such as projectiles not flying through obstacles anymore. They will now be blocked by them, and fixing some display bugs with these orb displays. If the name got too long, it was sometimes very weird to grab them. Now onto the movement mode I already teased last week. We already have the drift mode. That is something that is in the game. If you drift, you deal double damage. Now I want to have more of these somewhat ridiculous modes in there. So now I can present to you the wheel. If the train is in the wheel mode, you will dodge everything, you will destroy anything in your path, you will not get scrapped for it, but it is basically a get out of jail free card if you find yourself in situations where you cannot dodge currently. This mode will only work for 2 seconds and then has a cooldown of 5 seconds. This will likely be adjustable and is currently also not yet displayed to the players, so something I still want to work on, but that mode is in there. This mode of course worked also perfectly the first time I concepted it, as there is quite a bit of math involved. A few fuck-ups were done, but in the end I got it working. It of course also works with more cards. There it then will also actually look like a wheel, but it in the end doesn't matter how many cards you currently have. It will always work as long as you have that movement mode selected. One thing I'm currently considering with this is in the current perspective view, it looks a bit underwhelming. So maybe I will shift the camera even a bit as soon as this mode is being activated, so you see that ridiculousness a bit more. But yeah, I think that's another fun addition, additionally to the drift mode. And there will be many more. Apart from these additions, I also started to work on a more mountainous terrain, but this is very early stages as of now, so yeah, not too much to see yet. But likely will also improve in the next week. And with that, we are already at my plans for next week. I want to take a look at what I can place on the tracks to make the game more interesting. I'm thinking about buffs that, for example, deal more damage for 2 seconds, but maybe also upgrades for an orb of your train that will then count for the whole run. I think there is quite a bit of potential here. to make these objects on the track a bit more interesting. Another thing, more for player feedback, is that I want to make it clear, especially with the new wheel mode, when that is available again or how much time there is actually to have it still. And I want to in general make a system that just shows you ongoing effects that are happening on your train, because in later levels I also imagine that towers will, for example, do ice or fire damage to your train. So you want to know how long these effects will be still applied to your train. So having a general system there where I can show players what is currently happening to the train is, I think, a nice addition. Apart from these things, I also still want to add more enemies and more obstacles, now that I have actually a quite nice system to place them. But with that, that was already it for this week. So, as always, if you have any questions, feedback, or other insight, feel free to leave them in the comments. See you next week. Bye.